Put two people in the exact same room, facing the exact same economy, with the exact same resources. One will consistently identify ways to extract value, and while the other walks out empty-handed, completely blind to the opportunities that were sitting right in front of them. We often attribute this difference to luck, assuming the successful individual had better timing, a larger inheritance, or a more robust network of connections. However, clinical data tells a different story. When researchers analyzed thousands of MRI brain scans, comparing high net worth individuals to those in chronic financial struggle, they found a distinct divergence in neural structure. These scans indicate that people who accumulate capital have physically rewired the hardware of their brains by creating denser pathways in regions associated with long-term planning. The human brain evolved to prioritize immediate survival over strategic growth. Without an intentional effort to override these default settings, the mind remains optimized for short-term security rather than the behaviors required for wealth accumulation. This default programming is best illustrated by a 1972 study conducted at Stanford University. Researchers placed 4-year-old children alone in a room with a single marshmallow. The deal was simple: wait 15 minutes without eating it and get a second one. 70% of the children were unable to override their immediate impulses and eat the treat before the time was up. By tracking these individuals for 40 years, researchers found that the 30% who waited possessed higher incomes and significantly lower debt ratios as adults. This data shows a direct correlation between childhood patience and adult net worth. When the waiters were scanned as adults, their brains showed higher neural density in the regions responsible for self-regulation. You can see this same cognitive mechanism at work in the early career of Jeff Bezos. In 1994, he left a secure, high-paying Wall Street position to sell books out of a garage. He made this choice by using an 80-year-old regret framework, forcing his brain to prioritize his future self's perspective over the immediate comfort of a steady paycheck. This highlights the foundational divide. While some brains are optimized for the immediate hit of dopamine, others are trained to calculate outcomes in decades. Beyond impulse control, acquired knowledge changes how the brain filters the environment. Harvard Business School researchers tested this in 2019. They placed wealthy subjects and struggling subjects into identical rooms rigged with hidden freelance and investment opportunities. Over 70 brain scans showed that the wealthy group had active neural firing in their pattern recognition centers. In the struggling group, these same centers remained largely dormant. Developing this center requires specific habits. Researcher Thomas Corley found that self-made millionaires spend at least 30 minutes every day on targeted, intentional learning, providing their brains with the data needed to spot these invisible patterns. Opportunities remain functionally invisible until the brain has been trained through continuous education to recognize them. The final point of divergence involves how the brain processes adversity. A 2017 study from the London School of Economics analyzed 10,000 people to see how they explained their financial status. Participants in the struggling demographic consistently pointed to the economy, their family history, or government policy as the primary cause of their situation. This schematic isolates the amygdala, the brain's fear and defense center. When externalizing blame, this region becomes hyperactive, locking the mind in a defensive state. In the wealthy group, the amygdala was suppressed. Instead, the prefrontal cortex showed intense activity, matching their focus on personal accountability. Choosing to take personal responsibility for failure creates a physical shift in neural activity, moving the brain from a state of defensive reaction into active problem-solving. Accumulating wealth is the result of neuroplasticity. It is the outcome of thousands of micro-decisions that gradually forge new neural connections. This process requires the daily practice of delayed gratification, the prioritization of complex data over passive entertainment, and the absolute refusal to externalize any blame. The purpose of these neural changes involves moving beyond the constant stress of financial survival. The objective is to secure control over one's daily time, removing the pressure of immediate economic needs. Financial success is not a product of innate intelligence or chance. It is the result of the discipline required to build these mental systems while others remain distracted by short-term rewards. Long-term prosperity is an outcome of the specific psychological and neurological architecture an individual constructs. The state of a bank account is simply a lagging indicator of the state of the mind behind